Good morning. Welcome to Chemistry 141. So we're going to go through the syllabus and some general Canvas information this morning. That way you can get going on the course because this is a hybrid modality, which means that we're not just meeting on Fridays for lab. We've got all of our lecture content is delivered over Canvas. And so you have to be working on that on your own outside of class time or outside of the lab class time each week. So let me bring up the syllabus. All right, there we go. All right, so I am Jessica Stanfield. There's my email. Very exciting. If you need to communicate with me, email me. I've discovered over time that email is definitely easier, more reliable than the Canvas messaging. If you send me a message on Canvas, I can't guarantee that I will get to it as fast or be able to respond to it, but email, send me email. That's usually the better way to get a hold of me. I will hold office hours over Zoom on Tuesdays from 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. Our lecture is asynchronous, so you'll see Canvas or you can go to my public YouTube channel where all the lectures are, and then lab is all day on Fridays. All right, 141 is our first semester Gen Chem. Sometimes it's known as freshman chemistry. All right. We've got lots we're covering this week. Um, Make sure that you are putting the right amount of time into it. The lecture should take you about 3 hours each week to watch and take notes from. And then the lab, we meet about 6-ish hours a week. It seems really long, but that's because we do take a lunch break in the middle of lab as well. And then make sure that you are attending. You have to show up to lab. It'll take you 2+ hours per every hour of lecture each week and 1+hour for every hour of lab each week to complete the course material. So you can't just watch the lectures. You actually need to be studying. You need to be working homework problems. You need to be reading the textbook. All right. So that all takes time outside of the lecture hours. You can't get good at something if you are not practicing it and engaging with the material. Lab, there's a variety of activities we do, and you'll have pre-lab assignments that you have to turn in, as well as lab write-ups that you have to do after the labs are over. All right, we've got some prereqs. There's some student learning outcomes. There's course objectives. You could read through those. Okay, think about how you're engaging in the course. All right, electronic devices. Obviously, when you are at home watching the lectures, you have to do that over an electronic device. However, in lab, you do need to be utilizing your time. All right. It's not a time for you to set an experiment and then, check out for 20 minutes and goof off on your phone. It is class time. You are expected to be using class time on classwork. If there is downtime, while you are waiting for an experiment to go, you can work on work. You can, bring up mastering chemistry on your computer. You can work on practice problems. You can start looking at post-lab questions, all that stuff. But what you do not need to be doing is checking out on your cell phone. Okay. Again, class time, it's not a time for Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever social media thing. It's not a time for cell phone games. All right. That needs to be done outside of class on your own time. Class time is for class, for engaging in the material. Okay. All right, we're using this A Molecular Approach chemistry book. I think we're on the 6th edition. We're using Mastering Chemistry, so you will need to purchase access to Mastering Chemistry. We've got our Chemistry 141 lab manual. It's available in the bookstore. And then obviously you need a computer and internet. It's a hybrid course, so you are expected to have a computer and reliable internet access in order to complete this course. You will need a pencil, a blue or black pen, safety glasses. I will have loaners the first lab, but you really need to purchase your own. It's a required supply for the class. All right, we do not provide them. You'll need a non-programmable scientific calculator. I recommend that you have a Sharpie. I try to keep some in the lab, but over the course of the semester, they have to grow legs and walk away. And I don't necessarily have the opportunity to replace them if they all walk away. So I would recommend that you have your own. You will need a USB flash drive for storing lab data. We do several experiments that use LabQuest devices, and the only way to get the data off is by flash drive. So you need to have a flash drive that you carry with you to every lab session. And you will need a lab notebook. I will be having you image your lab notebook and uploading that to Canvas instead of ripping out carbon pages. So I don't mind if you have a fully bound lab notebook, but it needs to be an actual bound notebook, not some spiral thing that you can rip a bunch of pages out of it. It does need to be a good bound notebook. Okay. We're going to use Mastering Chemistry. You'll access it through the Canvas shell. Okay, you don't need to go separately to Mastering Chemistry. You'll launch it off that and you'll launch your assignments out of there. All right, lectures are asynchronous. You have to view them on your own. Okay, a lot of the lab work we do builds on what we do in lecture. So since lab is on Fridays, lecture notes are going to be due on Thursday nights to make sure that you are prepared for the lab. It's not helpful if you walk into lab and have no idea what I'm talking about because you have not watched the lectures yet. Okay, I do have you turn your notes in. You turn them in on Canvas on Thursday nights, again, so that you are prepared with that background knowledge for Friday. Okay. I expect that as you're watching the videos, you don't just take notes on what I say, but you actually solve the example problems. You cannot learn this material if you do not work problems. It is imperative, super important. You have to work problems. If you do not work problems and you wait until the exam, you're not going to do well. All right, I've been doing this for a very long time. I can absolutely, from exam results, pick out the students who are actually studying and working problems, and the students who Googled all the answers, let AI do it for them, let a tutor do it for them, or just blew it all off. Okay, there is a very strong correlation between completing the homework and taking good notes and doing well on exams. Okay, so I am looking for those example problems. Okay, if you do not solve the example problems, I will not give you credit for the notes. So I need to know that you are following along, that you are engaging in the material, that you are making an effort to learn the material. All right. Okay, lecture slides are always provided so that you can download them. It's up to you how you want to take your notes. Some people like to take notes on the lecture slide. Some people like to take notes in a separate notebook. Some people like to have like an iPad and an Apple Pencil or a tablet computer, all perfectly fine. But keep in mind that there's a lot of math problems. There's a lot of diagrams. There's a lot of Lewis structures and other things that we will be doing. And so you need to be showing that stuff. You cannot type out like a long string of characters. I need to see that you're understanding the problem solving process. I need to see that you can understand dimensional analysis. And so if you do not handwrite your notes, then when you type, you're going to need to insert in handwritten solutions for things like example problems or Lewis structures, things like that. I need to see that you can actually replicate and understand the way we're teaching the course material. All right. Hey, lab, you got to come prepared. We've got pre-labs you'll complete before class. And so in the pre-lab, you'll give a title, a purpose, a summary of the background information, a summary of the procedure. You'll mention any safety considerations, and you'll prep blank data tables for me. All right. Summary. Don't copy it word for word. Make a good summary so that I can see that you actually read through it. We only have so much time in class. If you are not finished with lab by the end of lab, I'm still exiting you from the room. All right. I'm not staying late because you dawdled and didn't prepare for class. Okay. Class time is the time that we have to do the lab. So you need to read it ahead of time. I do a pre-lab talk before lab. However, I don't read every, little thing word for word. And sometimes my pre-lab talk is focusing on showing you how to do one of the calculations for the lab. So you need to make sure that you are reading it ahead of time and prepping your notebook. Don't come in with nothing written or, you know, no space for your data tables and stuff. I have a whole video that walks you through what I expect out of the pre-lab. Okay. It's all based on work that I did over the summer. I spent my summer at UCSD doing a research immersion program. Part of that program was I engaged in lectures 3 times a week, as I was being trained in some new techniques that I had never done before. We had some lab assignments, just like you all get in this class. And so I made up what I expect to see in a pre-lab in my lab notebook over the summer, and then I made a video of it. Okay. All right. And then you need to make sure you're following basic laboratory protocols. You can read through these. We will be going through lab stuff in a lot more detail on Friday. We're actually going to watch a video produced by the American Chemical Society that talks about safety and everything. You should have had at least one university or college level lab course by now. So you should be familiar. You got to wear your eye protection without me nagging you about it. Appropriate clothing. I know it's hot out, but you do need to wear closed-toed shoes, long pants. You can't wear a sleeveless top. Don't have dangling things that can get in the way. All right. It's a safety thing. Outside of my class, I don't care what you're wearing. Inside my classroom, though, I care that you're safe. And so we need to adhere to dressing safely. We don't require you to wear a lab coat at Grossmont, but you are certainly welcome to purchase one and wear one. I highly recommend it, but we don't require it. Um, you have to have your hair pulled back. I always have extra hair ties, but you will want to have your hair pulled back. You'll want to do proper techniques, clean spills up. I am not your maid, nor are my lab techs. If you make a mess, it is your responsibility to clean it up. My job is to teach you chemistry. My job is not to clean up after you. Okay, properly record your lab data. Again, clean everything up. And remember, not your maids. You are responsible for keeping that laboratory environment clean. Okay, this is not exhaustive. We'll go over more in class on Friday. You'll submit everything on Canvas, including pre-labs, written portions, etc. Okay, so you'll submit all that there. Because we have an all-day lab, we will split Friday into a morning session and an afternoon session. So we'll convene at 8 a.m. We'll get going. We'll do some work. We'll take a lunch break. And then after lunch, we'll come back and we will continue working. Now, for the lunch break, in order for me to get a lunch break, I have to kick you all out of the room. And so as we get close to lunchtime, I will be reminding you, all right, in 10 minutes, everybody needs to be out of the room because I have to lock the doors. If I don't lock the doors, then I can't leave and then I can't eat my lunch. All right. So we will be splitting that up. Now, I don't have times in here because this is a little bit experiment dependent. There are some experiments that the way it works is we'll break for lunch at like 11. There's others that are taking a little bit longer to get to a good stopping point, and maybe we'll break for lunch at 11:30. All right. So it's going to be somewhere in that vicinity, but it might differ from 15 to 30 minutes from experiment to experiment, exactly when we do take our lunch break. Okay. All right, we're going to have 3 exams and a final exam. These are going to be given in our lab. So you will take these in person with me during class and they will be written exams. Okay. You need to show up for the exams. It's very difficult to schedule makeups. And so I'm only scheduling makeups for extreme extenuating circumstances. Emailing me in the morning and saying, Professor Stanfield, I'm just not feeling it. Can I take my exam on another day? I can't do that. You have to show up for the exam. The exams are listed in the schedule. There is no surprise when exams are coming. All right. So you need to be there for exams. Now, if you email me and say, hey, Professor Stanfield, I'm in the hospital. Okay, we can work with that. That's extenuating circumstances, and things do happen. As long as you keep me in communication, then we can work with that. But for exam makeups, it's got to be extenuating circumstances that are completely unavoidable, and you have absolutely no way of getting to campus. Okay. I do give you a periodic table on each exams, and I do allow you to write one-sided page of handwritten notes, or typed, I guess, if you want, but one-sided page of notes that you can bring in with you. Okay. We will have quizzes for each chapter. They'll be on Canvas. I'll give you two opportunities to take them. Keep in mind, I do use a random number generator, or sometimes I use a test bank. Like I'll make three questions that all are asking the same general topic, and then the Canvas will randomly select one of those three. All right, so when you take your second attempt, expect that there could be different numbers and expect that you could get one of the alternate questions of a particular type. Okay. And I do drop the lowest two quizzes. Lab, you got to show up. You can't do your experiments at home. All right. So if you keep missing class, you're going to have to be dropped from the course because you cannot complete the class if you do not show up to lab. And you cannot keep saying, oh, well, I can't come Friday. Can I go to somebody else's lab? Makeup labs are also for extenuating circumstances, not just because you didn't feel like showing up on Friday. Okay. All right. Email again, email me. Don't use Canvas. Please email me. Email is so much easier for me to communicate with you. The Canvas messaging can be clunky. If you need to send an attachment or I need to send an attachment, everything just, it's a lot smoother over email. It's a lot easier for me to go back and find emails. Should I need to call a communication back up again, things like that, please email me instead of Canvas. If it's sent during the week, typically I'll respond within about 24 hours. If you send an email over the weekend, please note that I probably will not get to it until sometime Monday afternoon. I teach a Monday, Wednesday morning lab at City College, and so Monday mornings I will typically be teaching lab. And so once lab is over and I get to my office hours for City College on Mondays, that's when I will start to address emails that came in over the weekend. Okay. Every once in a while, I might get to an email over the weekend, but don't expect it. If I'm grading over the weekend and you see scores pop up on Canvas, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to start addressing a bunch of emails. All right. If I am grading and the time that I have that day is for grading, I might not have extra time to address emails. All right. I only have so many hours in each day that I can get work done. And interestingly enough, as an adjunct, I'm not actually paid for the hours I spend grading or answering emails. All right. So please respect that, my time to engage in email communication is limited, and I won't necessarily get back to you immediately. Now, if I am working at my computer and I have a moment and an email comes in, I might get back to you right away. But that's not always necessarily going to be a given that I'll be able to do that. All right. Make sure that you know that you can get to Canvas message or Canvas announcements. So don't miss messages. I encourage you to set Canvas so that you receive emails and announcements either via text message or through email, so that you are notified when I do post a new announcement. Okay, everybody wants to know how I assess grades. So I have everything broken down. There's no approximately or anything like that. Grossmont does use a plus minus system, and so you can see exactly the score percentages that you need to get in order to hit a particular grade. All right. Um, I do have a few extra credit opportunities during the semester. So the best way to get the grade you want is to keep up with the work. All right. Emailing me close to the end of the semester going, oh, Professor Stanfield, I'm 2 percentage points away from the grade that, I absolutely need. I'm not going to round your grade up by 2 percentage points. All right. You need to earn your grade. So that means you need to do the work. You need to study. If I provide an extra credit opportunity, you should do the extra credit opportunity. Because those are usually the things that are going to make the difference between, a fraction of a percentage point that might boost you into that next range. Okay. So get your work done. That's the best way to get a good grade. Okay. Don't cheat. All right. If you cheat, then it's a huge hassle for everybody involved. It's not an enjoyable process. I don't like it. Students don't like it. I don't think the administration likes it either. So the easiest way to not deal with that hassle is to not cheat. All right. So don't bring in things that you're not supposed to have. Don't copy from somebody else, either quizzes or lab data. Don't bring in a calculator that's programmed, which I'm going to check them before exams anyway, so you can't use them regardless. Um, don't pull out your phone and use it during an exam. Don't skip lab and then make up lab data and submit that. Um, and mind you, most of these are actually things that I have encountered in all of my years, either as a professor or as a student or as a grad student when I taught labs and had to proctor exams. I have seen some wild stuff that students have tried to get away with. Um, don't change answers after I have graded things. If you leave an answer blank on an exam, I will put a big X through it. All right. So don't go back and try to, oh, but professor, you didn't grade my answer here. All right. I will clearly mark that there was no work that was there. Um, don't use Chegg, Course Hero, Quizlet, any of those online cheating platforms. These are not homework help systems. They are online cheating platforms. All right. It's very easy. Well, I guess Chegg is gone, mostly AI I've seen, but for a while there was really, really easy to tell when a student copied stuff off of Chegg because the experts that would answer those questions were frequently not people that understood what was being asked in a lower division laboratory course. So I would get some crazy answers that were going into topics that we don't touch on in the classes I teach. And I was like, huh, where on earth did you even hear about this? So I would Google it and the Chegg answer would pop up like, oh, that's where that came from. All right, don't do it. Paying someone else to do your work is also not allowed. Okay, AI strictly forbidden. Do not use it. All right, AI is stupid. Trust me on this. AI is stupid. In fact, I will post something in a little bit. Some other higher ed faculty very recently ran an experiment with the latest version of ChatGPT just to kind of see what it would come up with. So at this point in your life, you should know the ABCs, right? Okay. It's very easy to tell if you look at an ABC chart if it is done incorrectly or a general map, right? You can, even if you don't know like where everything in the world is, it's kind of easy to tell if a map is full of nonsense. All right, I'm going to post some images that some people generated with the latest ChatGPT that are completely nonsensical. ChatGPT cannot even generate an A through Z letter chart without making mistakes. And so when you try to ChatGPT and generate chemistry stuff, you might not necessarily notice the mistakes that ChatGPT makes right away because you're not an expert, but I do. All right. Uh, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of math that ChatGPT does that's full of shortcuts that doesn't make any sense. That's why I stress that I need you to be showing me proper dimensional analysis techniques because there's a reason why we teach things the way we do. What I'm teaching you isn't just chemistry, it's also problem solving skills. If you're in this course, more than likely you're going into a STEM field where your ability to problem solve and critically think and reason things out is just as important as your raw knowledge is. And so if you outsource all of your critical thinking, you'll never develop those skills. I mean, if you land in the ER, or your loved one lands in the ER. Do you want a doctor and a nurse who are good at, working the problem and who have information at recall? Or do you want a doctor or nurse that meets, the gurney with let me chat GPT this, right? Think about it. So you need to make sure that you are developing those skills, and there are skills you have to develop. All right. Some people, it comes naturally, but just like playing a sport does, some people, some sports come naturally. But even the people that have natural ability towards sports, they still have to work at it. They still have to go to practice multiple times a week and hone those skills. People that are good at instruments, same thing. You practice to hone those skills. So critical thinking, recall, memory, these are all skills that you have to practice and hone. And so some of the things that we do in this class, again, aren't just about making sure that you know the chemistry, but it's also about helping you develop those recall skills, those critical thinking skills, those reasoning skills, right? Because those will be very important, even if you don't necessarily use all the chemistry ever. Those skills are super important. And if you outsource it to ChatGPT, you'll never develop them. Okay? Also, please do not email me with ChatGPT. I am spending real time to read and respond to your emails. Okay. Please don't use ChatGPT. I don't care if your email isn't a perfectly written, amazing work of literature. Just email me. Use you to email me, and I will use me to email you. Okay. I had a student once that emailed me with ChatGPT. I answered their email. They never read it. They just fed my response back through ChatGPT and sent me another ChatGPT email where ChatGPT was confused because ChatGPT didn't know how to read the response that I put in my email. And it was a mess, trying to get the student to understand what was going on and, where they were not receiving all the points for work that they had turned in because they weren't following the directions. But ChatGPT could not understand from my email what I was telling the student. Okay? ChatGPT is stupid. Seriously, it is stupid. Do not use it. Um, Also, lectures, I do have publicly available on YouTube. I know YouTube generates transcripts. Don't do it. You need to be watching the lectures and engaging with the material. Okay. If you need tutoring, there's tutoring available on campus. If you have accommodations, please get those to me sooner rather than later. It's very difficult to implement accommodations if you hand them to me like 5 minutes before an exam or something. All right. So make sure I get your accommodations as soon as possible so that we can, get all that in. I keep a spreadsheet every semester with a tab for each class that I teach across any given campus where I have a student's name and then I put in their accommodation. So I have a real quick reference to make sure that I am upholding whatever accommodations a student needs. And then I delete that Excel workbook at the end of each semester. Okay. I still have some COVID stuff on here because it does keep cropping up every once in a while. Basically, like the district sets the guidelines. And so if you are curious about district guidelines, here is a link to the district website where you can check for any current guidelines. I don't think anything's changed in the last few semesters. Okay. And then, here's some basic additional information. We've got a basic needs office on campus that you can utilize if you need help. Okay. All right, so there's our syllabus. Now let me show you our schedule. Okay, so nothing's a surprise. You can see each week of the course, the topics we will be covering in lecture and the laboratory experiments that we will be doing. Okay, if a lab experiment is a bunch of worksheets where it does not require you to go home and write up a lab report, I'm going to be having you turn those in at the end of class. So it is imperative that you keep up with the lectures because otherwise you won't be able to do the worksheet labs. All right. But I'm doing this because I want you to work during class. Don't sit there and goof off on your phone and then go home and look all the answers up and then come in a couple weeks later to the exam and go, I don't understand any of this stuff because I never did the work. All right. I am present in lab. Very easy to get help from me when I am right there. Okay. So if it is a worksheet lab, you will be required to do it and turn it in class. There's ample time to get them done. Like our writing redox, we have the whole day to do it. Okay. We've got plenty of time that, let's say, everybody watched the redox videos, but we get to class and everybody's really confused about a portion of it. I can do an impromptu, like catch up, well, not really catch up, but supplemental. That's the word I was looking for. I can do an impromptu supplemental lecture when everybody's there if, everybody is struggling with certain things. Okay, but I can't do that if you ignore the work all day and goof off and then go home and go, what on earth does this say? Right? Not a good situation for success. I want you to be successful. Okay. All of the policies that I have here, these are designed to help you be successful and learn how to learn and be able to do well and move on to the next step, not just with having barely gotten through it, but actually confident that, hey, I did Chemistry 141. I know this stuff. I'm going to go rock Chemistry 142. Okay. All right. Exams, they are all on the schedule. So you can see when each exam is. There is no question. There is no surprise. There is no, I had no idea this was happening. It is on the schedule. Okay. So you can see all the things. All right, now The last thing I want to show you is, okay, Canvas screen. So here's our week one. You can see my intro stuff, syllabus quiz that you have to take. Yes, you have to take a syllabus quiz. Um, the lecture slides for chapter one, the chapter one lecture videos, the lecture notes submission. So notice Thursday night. Okay. And then homework, we've got some introductory stuff just to get you used to the Mastering Chemistry platform, and then the chapter one homework. So notice the lectures are due Thursday night. The homework is due Sunday night. Okay, so you do the lectures by Thursday night. You're ready for lab on Friday, and then you have the weekend to complete the homework. And then the chapter one quiz will be available during week two. Okay, I'm not going to make you take the quiz Sunday night after finishing the homework. So the quizzes will follow the lecture material. All right. And then I've got, an intro lab document that talks about the lab notebook and all that stuff. It's a PowerPoint deck that I will be bringing up in class on Friday, but you need to be prepared to do Friday's lab. And so I do have my Keeping a Lab Notebook video that you do need to go watch and understand how you're supposed to prep the pre-lab. And then Thursday night, first pre-lab is due because we are doing a lab on Friday. All right. And so that is all there. There's two more documents that I still need to upload here. It's just the PowerPoint slide deck that I use as the pre-lab lecture for the experiment we're doing Friday, and then a document that talks about what I expect out of the lab report that shows you the rubric. The only reason those aren't up is we just renumbered most of the experiments in the 141 lab manual. So I just need to take 30 seconds and go into my files and change the experiment number because it still has the old experiment. All the content is the same. I just need to change the experiment number on it. And I realized that late last night. I'm like, okay, I'll just do that real quick tomorrow because we need them on Friday. So I'll have those up for you before the end of the day today. I just need to, like I said, change the experiment number and re-upload the document so it's not confusing with the old experiment numbering. Okay. And then everything, I still have to change the dates from last semester. I was doing my UCSD summer research program up until Friday night. We had our final presentation that we had to give on Friday evening, summarizing what we had done for the summer. And so then I was left with just the weekend really to try to get everything prepped for both Grossmont and for Miracosta. So I am got most of the initial stuff up, and I will have the rest of this going between today and tomorrow. All the lectures are already recorded, and most of the content for this course has been built. I've taught it a number of times before. I just need to do a few little updates. Like I said, like some of the experiments got numbered differently. And then there's a couple of things based on the way last semester went. With the all-day Friday block lab that I just need to tweak because I think it'll make things run smoother this semester. All right. And if you're curious what I did during the summer, a copy of the poster that I gave at the end of program will be hanging in the department sometime in the next few days. I may hang it Friday when I come in for lab, or because I'm just doing prep work this week. I don't have to go to City College this week. Our classes there start next week. So I may pop up to campus in the next couple of days and get my poster hung so that I can share it with everybody. So if you are curious what I did all summer, there will be a poster hanging in the department and you can take a look at it. All right. And so I'll try to get a good portion of the modules turned on for you. So that way, if you want to work ahead, like if you want to do, like, let's say weekends are your best time to work and you want to do the lectures and homework on the weekend, it'll be available. You'll be able to watch the chapter two lectures. And start working on that very easily. And they're all publicly available on my YouTube channel as well. You don't have to access the lectures through Canvas. You can access them through YouTube. Like, so let's say you don't want to sit at your computer and do your lectures. You want to, like, let's say you have a Fire Stick or something. I don't know. And you want to go sit in another room and bring the lectures up on, a TV where it's bigger. Totally okay. I did make everything publicly available on YouTube for that reason. Don't send me messages on YouTube. If you have issues with any of the videos, email me. I do not check YouTube messages. I teach on 3 campuses and I have my personal email. I cannot also track YouTube messages. Okay, so that again is all going to be laid out for you. When you go into the homework stuff, when you click on it, it will prompt you to open up Pearson where you will actually complete the assignments. It should auto sync. Sometimes it's a little iffy. If you notice that you're completing the Pearson homework, but the scores are not updating properly, let me know because there's a button that I can press in Pearson that triggers the sync. And so if it's not syncing automatically, I can always do a manual trigger of the syncing on it. Okay, so. All right, so that's all there. We've got lots of work to go ahead and get started on. There's a lot to cover in this class. It's going to seem like a lot, and it's probably going to seem pretty overwhelming. I totally understand. STEM classes typically have a lot of very dense content to them, which is why it's really important that you keep up to date with stuff. I have due dates in there. We've got work going every single week, and the best way to be successful is to keep up with the work. One of the easiest ways to not do well is to wait to start your work, right? Don't wait until Thursday at 10 p.m. to pull up the lecture videos. Don't wait until Sunday at 9 o'clock to pull up the homework that's due. You have to be keeping up with everything. I know everybody's busy, but time management, critically important. I have two planners I keep. I keep one general overall planner where I list out what is going on overall in my life, and I have a separate planner just for teaching where I have checklists each week of what I'm doing in each class for my students and what I need to upload or what things I need to make sure I get graded in a timely manner. And it's how I have to keep up with everything. Schedules, checklists, planners, super important. It is much easier to take the time to plan it all out ahead of time than to realize, oh, wait, I'm behind. I don't know what's going on. And then you have to sort through all of it. Another thing, oh, you know what? Let me share this again. Um, one thing that is helpful is if you go to the calendar on Canvas, you can trigger your different courses off to the side. Like I don't have anything triggered right now. But if you start triggering, let's see here, there it is. Your courses, as I put due dates in, it will start to populate on the calendar. I don't know why it's not doing right now because I have due dates. Or if you go to like your dashboard, usually there will be a course stream on the side that'll show you what you need to do with all the due dates. Oh, and I need to go into Pearson. I just noticed that Pearson reset the times on all of the assignments again. I'll get those fixed before Sunday. This happens every semester. Pearson, I don't know what it is about the Pearson system, but I have never had one of the online systems that screws with the time assignments are due as much as Pearson has over the years, but I'll go in and fix that. All right, so there's that. Usually, as everything populates too, if you go to the syllabus page, that will have a course stream summary as well, showing you when to expect things. All right, so there shouldn't be any surprises about when we're doing things or how to keep track of scheduling. If you're struggling with scheduling, let me know. I can help you. So I have ADHD, and scheduling and keeping on top of things was absolutely, positively not my strongest suit when I was going through school. This the way I keep track of everything is a learned skill that I had to work at. All right. I used to be terrible at keeping up with things. Terrible. Now I also print my schedules and I have them posted on the wall behind my computer monitor so that I can remember. Because again, I teach on three campuses, so I'm juggling lots of different schedules and trying to remember, all right, when am I doing what with which class? And so over the years, I've developed coping mechanisms for all of that. I also use post-it notes. I will post post-it notes all over the place too to remind myself of things. So, if you are struggling with scheduling and all that stuff, you know, pop into office hours. If you can't make my office hours, send me an email and see if I can set up another alternate appointment with you or talk to me in lab. But I could definitely give you some tips on good ways to think about scheduling and keeping on top of things because it doesn't come naturally to everybody. All right. So anyway, that was a lot. I know there's, a whole bunch of like course policies and like don't use AI, that can sound a little overwhelming or intimidating. But I really love what I do. I love teaching. I really enjoy working with my students. Uh, and this hybrid format is fun because then I still get to see you in person for lab. It's not just over the computer. So I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you on Friday and getting to know you in lab. But before Friday, again, you got to get started on all of this super exciting course material. The first few chapters of this class aren't as exciting. There's a lot of review of our prep chem class and then kind of upping the difficulty level a little bit. All right, so there is a lot of review the first few weeks. So don't blow it off, even if you think it's just review. It's good to go back through and remind yourself, oh yeah, I did do the thing. I remember this now. Okay. All right, so that is all I have for the syllabus and the schedule. So good luck, get started, and I will see you in person on Friday.